Good morning, y'all. It is 6:37 right now, and we are on April 25th, and this should make day number 6 for us for cheap bicycle through Thailand. Direction-wise, I got my flat fixed last night before sunset, so everything was perfect. It was another one of those like little small wires from the sidewalls of the scooter's tires or whatever. That's why I think it's from. It's too small to be from the sidewalls of a car, so I'm assuming they're coming from the sidewalls of the tires of the scooters. So it was another one of those. Those are the most common thing that causes me flats. So, which is good. I used the old tube as lining on the inside of my bike. I know that adds extra weight, but this bike's not a weight efficient bicycle anyway. None of the cheap ones are. Anyway, let's see. I'm just gonna get on the 3 and go, kind of where I'm at right now. This was a good field to be in. Thumbs up. You get on my link in my description. Find my Google Maps folder that I started for Thailand, and the dot is right where I'm at. It helps to flip on the satellite view so you can actually kind of see what I'm in and stuff like that, you know what I'm saying? So it gives you, and if you can find the street view, sometimes there's a street view and you can kind of see what my surrounding areas are like. Thumbs up to Google Maps for all that stuff, and the people that participate actually doing it for Google Maps. But yeah, so Pattaya City is about 100 kilometers still from here on the straightest route, but I probably am going to take the coastal route more, so that'll add an extra 21 kilometers, so about 121 kilometers along the coast. The only city in between is Rayon, and Rayon is 41 kilometers. And they have some affordable accommodations, like 2 of them, at $11, which, me, I'm 10 or under, but sometimes, for 11, I'll pay the extra just to use the Wi-Fi and post something. So that's the only reason I'll actually stop in Rayon and stay anywhere. But they're, like I said, they're only 41, and I want to do a little more than that. I'm not trying to rush through the country. I know some people think I am, but I'm literally staying the longest amount of time on every single one of my visas, because I'm not traveling, I'm living abroad. I'm not like traveling to be a traveling tourist. And I guess maybe that's something I should probably address is I've had people that wanted to know more about my story too. And it's one of those life stories that should probably be sectioned up and fed you guys chunk by chunk, but I guess I should start getting to it. And probably clarify one thing is, I know a lot of people, not just, like Stephen brought it up yesterday. Thank you, Stephen. I love you, brother. But it's been mentioned several times is, why am I running through a country, or why am I not going to see this, and why am I not going to see that? And I think we're looking at, for one, I think we're looking at it wrong, because I'm not running through the country. Cambodia, I barely got out. I got out the day before my day, it expired, and I've been pedaling the whole time. And I only took a few 0 days, Angkor Wat and different ones like that. I stayed for several days, but the fact is if you're pedaling through a country, this is first time me doing the bicycle thing. It reminds me a lot of a pilgrimage, like on the Camino, during the Camino Francis. I also did I started doing the Camino, what's called the Fisherman Camino. There's a Camino that actually runs all along the coast, on the Porto side at least, but I heard it's the whole coast all around that go all the way to Santiago. I started down in Tarifa, and I was like 200 pounds heavy, over 200 pounds, right? heavy coming across on the ferry to Morocco when I decided I want to try and do a Camino trail. So I got on the ferry, went across, and I was like, well, I'm just going to go to the beach because I had my sleeping bag and stuff like this, because this is my lifestyle. This is not something I'm going out to do. This is something I am, right? I'm a homeless person. Which I'll talk about that later, but so I got on and I started just walking. I said, see how 30 kilometers, you know, overweight with asthma, right? So this is how 30 kilometers does me. And so I walked 30 kilometers, threw out my sleeping bag, and slept where I was at, you know, kind of like along the beachy area, but more low into the sticks. Got up the next day and just walked another 30 or 40, right? And then I just kept doing that day after day until I got up to basically Cadiz. Well, I got up to the flamingo habitat area right before Cadiz, and that's a lot of swampland you have to navigate around. I did jump on the train and take it all the way around to Cadiz, because by that time I knew I couldn't wear work boots. I had to get a good pair of shoes over Decathlon. The backpack I was wearing didn't have a frame, and I was carrying too much in it, and it was hurting the hell out of my neck, in my back, my neck, mostly this one. So yeah, my toenails turned black from the work boots because of the heel always going down. And so I got a good pair of, not trail runners, but close enough. The backpack I ended up getting was a 50 liter, which I switched out later because 50 liters too much for doing the Camino. When you have every 5 kilometers to 8 kilometers, you have another coffee shop, small town, you know, glamping style hiking. That's all it is. So, but from Cadiz, I did basically the last 120, 30 kilometers, not last, but that's how much of the Fisherman Camino I did. And I was like, okay, I'm going to try and go do the Porto. The Porto is the Portuguese one. That starts in Porto. You can actually start it in Lisbon and do the whole stretch of it, more or less. Or you can do the halfway part. The halfway part is Porto there. But some Spanish people said, oh, you know, they were interested in my story when I was going to Cadiz on the train going around the flamingo habitat area. And they were so interested, and they were like, no, us in Spain, we always do it. Every year we get together, we always do the last 120, and he doesn't mean just his group, he means everybody in Spain loves to do the Camino yearly, like spring break. You know how in the United States everybody does spring breaks? Well, the kids do the same thing. They just all, you know, it's that time of the year they all just start doing the Camino, and it's a great thing because it's healthy, it's social, it's all these things, right? And so I went up and I ended up taking their advice. They're like, we're going to a little spot called Tui, which is right on the border of Portugal and Spain, and just doing the last 120. And if you do the last 120, you still get the Compostela. You still get the stamp certificate when you're done at Santiago. You get the stamps along the way. They say, bang, here you go. As you go along, you stamp at each like coffee shop, albergue, which is a hostel that's set up for pilgrims and stuff like this. And it was an awesome experience. So when I was done with that 120, I still had plenty of time on my visa. So I was like, I got to do the Francis, right? The Francis is the one that's in the movie The Way, right? If you haven't seen the movie The Way, that's how I found out about the Camino Trail. And also finding out from others on the Camino Trail. That's how they found out about it. And, you know, and that's how they're all doing it. Some German people have a German book that's very popular in the German language. That's you know, very inspiring too. But since it's in the German language, I haven't read it. So, but besides the point. So I did the Francis, and that's 35 days of just walking every day, waking up and walking. You know, your 30 kilometers. More than 30, you start getting blisters, even with blister socks and Vaseline on the feet and all that stuff. You push over 30, you're going to start getting blisters. And there's no need to push over 30 because you end up forming friendships with people along the way, because regardless of how fast or slow you're all working, you're all waking up at 6 or 7 in the morning, leaving around that time, because they kick you out by 8 anyway to start cleaning up and getting ready for the new pilgrims that's coming in for the day. Because it's a non-stop thing. The Camino's all year round. People are just constantly doing the pilgrimage. So even if they get ahead of you or behind you, you guys all end up pretty well staying at the same towns. You know what I'm saying? So you see the same person, same albergas and stuff like this, and you have dinner, you shoot up the breeze. A lot of people are cooking up their pastas, drinking their wine. Yeah, you can drink your wine in the hostels or in the albergas, even if they're state-run. Everything's good. It's part of the lifestyle. You can get what's called a pilgrim's meal. And the pilgrim's meal, sometimes it's some spots are complete donation only, and I helped cook at one of them, right? We all did the chopping and stuff, and they had wine and food, and this was all donation. If you want to leave money, it was fine. At this one, they're not all donation, trust me. And it's sitting around and getting to know people that you're walking with and stuff. But the country itself, you're not really visiting the country. You're doing a pilgrimage, so you're walking through the country. So every day you're getting up, and you're not seeing the towns that you are going through. The only part you're seeing is the part that's connected, that is immediately surrounding the trail. So you're not seeing this beautiful park over here or this great tourist attraction over here. You're not seeing any of these things because that's not what you're there for. You're there to walk the Camino. You're there to keep passing and going through until you get to Santiago. And after 35 days, you and everyone else that you've built up this friendship and stuff with, make it to Santiago. Most people don't want to keep, end, so they keep going to Finisterre. Finisterre is what's called the end of the world, right? And you can go all the way down there, and they even give you an extra certificate for going all the way out to the end of the coast. And then you can go up to Munich. Munich is another certificate if you want to go all the way up to the northern part of the coast, right? That's actually, I think, Munich or whatever, is the actual real place that's in the movie The Way, right? It's got the beautiful rocks and stuff. But then I actually ended up doing that whole circle all the way around and then all the way back to Santiago because I still had time. But by that time, my 3 months was over, and I hiked through all of Spain, and I dropped a dot on Google Maps, every single spot. People dated it, but I don't think I was taking notes yet. I haven't grown to that point yet of using Google Maps fully as a diary, like a digital diary, but I do now. I'll leave a link in the description of here to my other maps in Spain and stuff like that. So you can kind of see everywhere I slept along the way and where I was. But from that was the first long trail I've ever done. And it opened me a whole new experience. So it was like, wow, it's completely different than actually going around and visiting and doing the museums and doing the caves and hiking the mountains and seeing the viewpoints and doing the inner tubing and all this stuff, the restaurants, and yeah, that's the normal touristy travel type thing. And it's not that. It just isn't. So yeah, so the Camino, was a big impact. It showed me that you can have goal-oriented travels, and it's something, but it's not regular travels. It's goal-oriented travels. You're moving through the country, and from the Camino, I found out that I could become a dual pilgrim. Because the Camino was a UNESCO World Heritage Trail, and there's only 2 UNESCO World Heritage Trails, and the other one's the Komodo Kodo in Japan. So I bought a ticket from Spain after finishing the Camino, and I headed to Japan because I found out about it, but I didn't want to put it off because the killer of all dreams is procrastination. It really is. If you procrastinate on anything, then there's a good chance you might not do it. So you got to do it now, you know. So I did. I went to the Komodo, and I ended up spending the 3 months that was on my visa. I landed in Osaka and went down to Nabi. To Nabi, I started on the Camino Trail, not the Camino, the Komodo Trail, Nakahechi route, the most famous. It's called the Imperial Route. And along the way, it's a UNESCO World Heritage Trail that Japan invested a lot of money in it. So you can learn the history and all the placard boards along the way. But it's hard. It's up one mountain, down one mountain, up one mountain, down one mountain. It's a rebirthing process. And it's Buddhist. It's a Buddhist pilgrimage, but Japan's version, because Japan's a little bit of mixture of, Tao and Buddhism and reverence of dead relatives type things and stuff. Anyway, yeah, so I did that. So I went up the Nakahechi, down to the coast, up the ICG, which is an extra 175 kilometers up that Komodo. Ended up hiking up a valley up to, and taking a few trains, but hiking up a valley up to Mount Antak, the second most holy mountain, which used to be a holy pilgrim mountain, right? Up to the 1600s when the emperor finally opened it up to the general public. It used to be cold water rituals where you do the monks and stuff would do the cold water rituals and then climb the Kodo Trail up the mountain. It's also an active volcano. It's the last one that blew up in 2014, I think. So I did that one, came back down, went out to the 5 lakes on the backside of the nice side of Mount Fuji. I was like, I'm not doing Mount Fuji. I'm done with mountains. So I hung around the Suicide Forest, beautiful place. I camped out there. I explored the 5 lakes, but I kept looking at that mountain. I'm like, if I don't do it, I'm going to regret it. So I did Mount Fuji, and then I took a little time off. I went and saw Tokyo, all that stuff. Tokyo is Tokyo, right? It's a city. I know people are like, what? It's a city. Tokyo is nice. All of Japan's nice. But I'm more of an Osaka guy. I like the more working class type of people. You know what I'm saying? Ones that know how to have a beer. Even though I don't have a beer no more, I still like I like the people around there. Sorry, bugs. Not dancing. Anyway, so yeah, that's the second one. I took a break after Japan. So I came to Thailand the first time and went up north, did the scooter from Chiang Mai up to Pai, hung around Pai, did a bunch of edibles, that type of thing. Win in Pai, do as a Paian. But yeah, and then over to Laos, and Laos was like, I climbed a few viewpoint mountains, and stuff like that. But really just kind of travel around bus to bus to boat to bus to boat. The normal travel thing. And then I came over to Vietnam. And then I decided to go ahead and do goal-oriented travel again. And that's what a bicycle is. It's goal-oriented. And the most I can compare it to is a pilgrimage. So to make all that big, long history of what I've been doing in my travels the last little while, I think a lot of people are not looking at it quite right. And the best comparison I can say is it's like a pilgrimage. I don't have time to actually stop and explore. And I realize that. There's no problem with that. But it's all about just pushing through the country and seeing the country as it goes by, but not staying long enough to really get to know that one little spot or that this place or that place. And yeah, I miss out on a lot of stuff, but at the same time, I get to experience something completely different. Something that's not the restaurants and not the museums and not the, you know. So that's where I'm at, and so that's why I can't really stop in a lot of spots. I mean, what actually determines how long I stay in a spot is the expiration date, because I stay the maximum allotted time that I'm allowed in every spot. I'm not traveling, I'm living abroad. And yeah, and that's one thing is, like, in the United States, I'm an actual real homeless person. I am a person that I chose to be a homeless traveling hobo because I preferred that lifestyle to the working, paying bills type thing, you know. Yeah, it's still going. Whoa, that's way too long. 20 minutes is a ridiculous ramble. I'm sorry, guys. Even yesterday's video was way too long. I'm going to cut that short there. I'll explain more about, like, who I am and stuff like that, and my past and stuff, and why I ended up coming out abroad and living this way. But I'm going to have to save that. 20 minutes is a long ramble. Yesterday's video is very long. It's because I rambled in that one too, and it was over an hour. It was actually an hour and a half, and I kept trying to cut stuff, but I have a problem with cutting stuff. If I start cutting too much, I feel like I'm actually taking away from your guys' experience of what I'm doing. So I feel like I'm being dishonest by taking out anything. So unless it's a really god-awful, you know, out-of-frame shot, I'll cut out that part of the frame. But I don't really, I have a problem with taking stuff out because I don't want to take anything from you guys. So yeah, the lowest I could get it was like an hour and 3 minutes after cutting 20 minutes out of it. So I didn't want to hack anymore, and so I don't want to go on any longer on this one either. So all right, guys, thank you so much. I'm gonna get on the 3 and just start pedaling and see where I end up. And there's your hobo ramble for the day. All right, guys, let's hit the road. All right, guys, time check. It's 7:12 o'clock right now, and I'm going to be starting the Strava app. And there we go. We're off. Hey guys, found a spot at the beach here. Kind of drop a pin where this is at. This is kind of a really nice spot. I decided to take the coastal route more on my bike, and obviously on my bike. And I decided to go ahead and just stop and maybe just give a little more back history. I know I did a long speech of 20 minutes, but that was more of things I've done recently in the last 2 years of traveling around and stuff. But so who am I and what am I? You know, if you actually have seen my videos, I tell a little bit about myself in small chunks, right? And I really haven't told much besides the basics. I'm a hobo traveler from the United States. In the United States, I grew up in a very poor family, but not poor in spirit, poor in financially. I lived in a house that actually had no running water, no electricity, no telephone, and was out on 22 acres out in the middle of nowhere. We had a double-wide trailer that my dad rented one of these big crawlers, like tractors, and dragged it up after making more or less a road out into this area, flattening out a little section, and dragging a double-wide out there, but never quite got the double-wide pushed together because it's just him, right? And it was too expensive to run electricity. They wanted like $10,000. This is when I was 10 years old and stuff, right? $10,000 just to get it out the property. We couldn't afford that. My dad was a construction worker in California, and California goes through all the seasons. So during the summer times, and some of the spring and some of the early winter, but really just within the summertime area, we had money that we could eat and go, you know, we didn't do anything besides go to the river, free things, you know. Go swimming at the river, go inner tubing, stuff like this. I had a good child life. We didn't have money. We were poor. We were actually in Forest Hill, California, when it was still small, like population 600. It was a poor little town, more like a village, but it was still, I guess we called it a town. But it was one of those places where a kid could get a note from his parents that says, please give my kid a fifth of Jack Daniels and a pack of smokes and I'll pay you later. And he could take that into the grocery store, and the grocery person would give it to the kid because everybody knew each other. If it looked like the kid tried to forge something for like a pack of cigarettes or something, the store guy knew the phone numbers of the people, you know, of your parents. You know what I'm saying? For the ones that had a phone, not us, of course, but we lived out in the middle of nowhere. Everybody was poor here. Everybody was poor, except for a few of us were the poorest. And right here. During the warmer times since no running water at first, during the warmer times, we would go down to, as the sun's going down but not set fully, my dad would load us up in the car and we go down to the stream and we took our bath in the stream. We've had a nice little section that was like maybe 2 feet deep, a little more, you know, maybe 3 feet deep, let's say, 3 feet of the stream. Beautiful little like small waterfall, you know, I mean, a little stream, and we'd jump in, and as time got closer and closer to winter, that water got colder and colder. And but yeah, luckily it was all year round. It wasn't a seasonal stream or anything. And yeah, that's how we cleaned up. But once winter came around, we started hauling the water up to our place, and we took sponge baths because you couldn't waste water. You couldn't even flush the toilet because we had a 5-gallon bucket underneath the trailer. And if you flushed the toilet, because you could only fill up the back of the toilet one time, you had to pick up that bucket and walk it down and dump it off the side of the cliffside down below, and you didn't want to do it because it was full. People kept crapping in it until it filled up. I know it's an ugly conversation, but trying to tell you the mentality of where I came from, what I've experienced, and how I grew up. And I decided, even as a kid, I was like, this is gross, you know, all the fecal matter in the toilets. I went out and dug my own little hole in the ground and put a concrete block over it, and that was my restroom, you know. That I didn't have to ever flush the toilet. I didn't have to take it, and that stuff wouldn't splash up and over and get on my pants and stuff. You know what I'm saying? As a kid, it's disgusting. It doesn't matter what age you are. Those are called honey buckets, by the way. If you're living off grid, people still crap in buckets. Sorry. Okay, well, let's stop that conversation there. This gives you an idea kind of how we grew up. When I went into the work world, right, which I did, I immediately disagreed with it. So I packed up at I was already working on construction with my dad my whole life, so I'm not talking about that. I'm actually talking go out and working for someone else. I did that when I was a kid at a pony ranch, but it was like, you know, the pony ranch job of cleaning stalls and stuff as a child was something just to introduce me into the work world. You know, it was Al Richardson. He was, God bless his soul, gave a little extra cash that could help our family out and stuff like that. He was our next door neighbor out on the 22 acres. But I automatically did not agree with the work world when I was around 17, I think, you know, and so I disappeared. You know, I got in an argument because I was still living at my house with my mom kind of thing, and it was like we were butting heads because she wanted to charge me rent and follow all her rules and all this, and you know, it was, yeah, okay. But we butted head a lot, you know. I mean, I still love her, but you know, I mean, you know, I still love her even though she's not around anymore, but we used to butt heads. She's just a strong personality. And my parents were divorced and all this, so I decided to just pack up my bags and disappear. And that was the first time I became a missing person because I'm under 18, but I'm 17, so really I'm still an adult. Yeah, so yeah, I disappeared, and for 8 months I lived on the streets of Olympia, Washington. And that's where I learned that it's not hard. It's scary at first because you don't know what it is. It's new and stuff like that. So I lived with the homeless people. I lived in the back of my car that I had, right, that I just purchased. I got for like 700 or 800 bucks, I don't remember. And I lived with the homeless people in Washington. And when I came out of that, I went back into the work world, but I kept coming back into the traveling homeless world because it was a draw to me. And eventually I had to decide, am I a person that works and pays bills, or am I this other person that's a homeless traveler and stuff like this? I chose homeless traveler. I'm comfortable with being in poverty. I enjoy life more than I enjoy money. So being in these countries that are not third world countries, these are not underdeveloped countries. They're developed just as much as anywhere else as the United States, let's say, but they're just developed different. Farm fresh produce is common here, where you can actually get it at a decent price. In the United States, it's not common there. Everything's through stores, so we have to pay premium for farm fresh. Here, everything's farm fresh, so it's affordable. Housing where I stay and stuff like that is affordable. It's not affordable in the United States. I had to live in a tent. For the last 10 years, I have not lived in any type of structure. Except for recently, in the last 2 years, I've been living in hostels and stuff like that for traveling. So if anybody doubts or misunderstands who I am, where I come from poverty. I am a homeless traveler, hobo that used to hop the rails. I've been doing this for 30 years. That's not considering the years I've worked. So 30 years homeless traveler living in poverty. But poverty is just poverty. Poverty is something that you learn to deal with it because it's not a bad thing. So if I'm going around and I'm talking about the food, the prices of the food or the living and stuff like this, I'm not looking down on this at all. I'm just happy for once to be able to afford these things, you know? I'm happy that my quality of life once I left the United States increased. My quality of life became better because the rest of the world is affordable. America is not affordable. And if there is a place like Ireland, which is comparable to the United States, I just can't go there. I just can't go because I still can't afford these things, you know? So I chose this lifestyle and I'm happy with this lifestyle. I am comfortable with this lifestyle. But if you hear me talking about that lifestyle, it's because I have the right to. I've earned those stripes. I live this way. So please don't let there be a misunderstanding. You know, I am just happy that I'm able to finally afford some of the other things that people take for granted. So anyway, God bless you guys. That's another 10-minute ramble. We're stacking them up today. All right, peace. Hey guys, it's 11:34 right now. I had to jump in the water, man. I was looking at this big access to a big public beach here, and yeah, public beach, you got to take the access, and the water's clean. That's why I ran out in it, and I wasn't all careful. I could see the bottom, and I could see there wasn't any little things I was going to step on that's going to cause me pain and suffering. But yeah, it looks like I'm just an update. It looks like I'm about 17 kilometers outside of Rayong. I'm just gonna, since it's noon, it's the hottest time of the day, and I'm refreshed because I just jumped in the water. I'll probably just go ahead and pedal right past Rayong. I mean, that's what I'm thinking, and find a spot to camp for tonight too. Yeah, there are, like I said, there are 2 or 3 $11, I think 2. $11 hostels or hotels in Rayong. So if I really want to, I might change my mind when I get there, just depending on how hot it is. And I can always use the Wi-Fi to post yesterday's video. That way I don't get too many built up. Like I said, yesterday's is a long one, guys. Sorry about it. The rambling takes up a lot of time. But I did actually have some requests for filling in a little more of my story, so I'm gonna start trying to add a little more like my past things that I've done and stuff like that. And so yeah, so the format of the videos are probably gonna get a little longer. Not more than an hour. I'm going to cut that back. I can't. I don't think anybody has an attention span that long. I don't know. I could be wrong. Post some comments on what you guys think is a good amount of time to try and stay around. Like a half an hour, an hour. I don't know. If you guys think an hour is good, I'll stick to it. But I would think when I started this, I was trying to keep all my videos around 10-15 minutes long, and I just realized I can't do that. So now I kind of settled. I like to keep them around a half an hour. But tell me what you guys think and stuff. And yeah, I'd like to hear what you guys, and I'll shoot for that as my standard. I'll never make it though. I mean, I'm always going to be all over the target, you know. It just depends on how much I film for the day, or how much I blabber. All right, that's it. I'm going to get back on the road now. All right, just to do a quick update right now, it's 3:33 and I'm about 21 kilometers west of Rayong. Yeah, Rayong. I'm kind of following the coast. I'm not actually on the 3, I'm south of the 3. I was on the 3 for a little bit, but I decided to get off, and that's how I ended up going through that industrial area or whatever, which I don't mind. Industrial areas are actually nice, pretty nice places to find camping areas. There's usually security, but they're understaffed, and as long as you're not breaking into anything, they pretty much, or trespassing, they pretty well leave you alone. And there's usually something around the grounds that you can find, like trees and stuff like that. I could put my hammock up, and I saw that a lot over there. You do have to be a little careful on that you're not making life hard on the security guards. You know, that's basically all you have to do. So yeah, you can be kicked out and stuff. There's a train yard too. I'm itching to actually jump another train. I just don't want to do it in a foreign country because of the chance that they might kick me out and tell me never to come back to a country. And it's very hard to Google the legalities of being caught doing something like that, because most information like that's going to be more of a what do you say, word of mouth. Like, that's information that's going to be passed along from hobo to hobo. It's not going to be something on the internet, not something searchable. So anyway, I'm not going to do that, not yet. I'm not going to make any future promises, because I might one day, I don't know. But anyway, yeah, I'm going to go keep pushing along because it's 3:35 and I just want to keep pushing. I want to at least make 80 kilometers today. I'm not trying to go hard. I'm not trying to go fast. I just want to kind of keep up about 80 kilometers on my Strava app. When I get to somewhere like Pattaya or somewhere that's a little more affordable, there's nothing really affordable, so it's another camp night tonight, I'm pretty sure. I'll end up spending a little more, like taking 2 days off, you know, and stuff like this, just because by 2 months, the entirety, I think, of, now don't quote me, I could be wrong, the entirety of the direction I'm going along the coast in Thailand is only around 14 something thousand kilometers, so 1,400 something, I think. We'll just call it 1,500. So that gives me plenty of time, especially if I'm doing a lot of like 80 kilometers an hour, or a day, an hour. So yeah, that's the update. I'm gonna push ahead, and I think I'm just gonna go ahead and camp until I get to Pattaya, but Pattaya is a little too far to push today. All right, that's it. Yay, woo woo.
เลือกนายกเทศมนตรีตำบลบ้านฉางเลือกเอนิรันดร์ปัญญาคุณเบอร์สองเป็นนายกเทศมนตรีเข้าไปบริหารและพัฒนาและพร้อมใจการเลือกทีมบ้านฉางพลังใจหาเบอร์7ถึงเบอร์12ยกขึ้นลงไป
Hello. So I just came in along the beach from over there. That's where our park ends. The road goes that way and you got to go all the way up and around the airport. This is kind of behind the airport here. So the airport's off in this direction. There's a resort, obviously like a hotel resort. And this is their access right here to the beach, it looks like. I cut across this beach just because I didn't want to go up all the way up and around the airport just to get back on the coastal line and continue on. Now this is actually where I'm at. This thing behind me is listed on Google Maps as a campground. Sometimes people, when they find a nice spot to camp, even though it's not a campground, they'll list it themselves as a campground. You can do that on Google Maps. I mean, I'm sure someone owns this property. Maybe they wanted to build it up as a campground at one time. You can obviously see the poles here. Looks like there's a makeshift bathroom over there. So there's a pond here, but I might just do some stealth camping. You know, over here by the pond, there's a few trees, and I might just go ahead and figure out if I can throw up I can throw up my hammock here. And I don't think I'll be bugged. I better go check out what this is actually over here. I don't want to be kicked out in the middle of the night just for trespassing or something. And there's a dog. But there's dogs everywhere around here. But yeah, a nice little freshwater pond. My bicycle's over there. Bathrooms. but it's overgrown. So overgrown is good. Good sign. What I want to see is if the bathrooms are locked or unlocked. No real signs on the ground of footprints. So that's inactivity. And yes, they're locked. They're locked. So that's a good thing. That means no one's going to come out and service these restrooms. If you look over here in the distance, there's the active trail in and out. I'll get on Google Maps. I already did actually, and looks like this is open. This is home for the night, guys. I'm gonna use these trees right here and put up my hammock. And there is a little walkway in and out of here. Someone probably saw the bathrooms, want to go use them and couldn't. And someone made something right there. Yeah, I'm gonna grab one of those trees right there. That'll be home for the night. All right, guys, I'm gonna do that. Time-wise, it's like going on 6 o'clock. Real quick, 5:43. So, yeah, I'm gonna scout out just a little more, and in about 15 minutes, I'll start throwing up my hammock. You can see that a little farther up on the land, they're cultivating this little part of the property, of the campground, or whatever this is. I'm actually right over there in the trees. This is those things I ran across in Cambodia that the guy said it's not a food crop. It's grown for the pigs and the chickens and stuff like that, and they feed it to the animals are fattening up. But so I don't think we'll have any problems. It's not. There's no tracks that come in and out of here at all, and the ground is soft enough to actually show the tracks. Only the ones I'm leaving behind. And I'm going to be right there. So, yeah, it's awesome. I'm not going to be... There's a wall right here that separates the resort on the other side, which is, I think, part of this back there. But those people aren't going to call on me because they're not even going to see me way over here. They're not going to care. So, yeah. So I'm going to get everything start setting up, and I saw the remains of what looked like a little campfire over here, which is a good sign. That means at least one person was camping out here, and whoever took the picture and posted it in Google Maps also must have camped here, unless that was actually posted by the owner of the property, because there's a description put in. It says freshwater pond, no electricity, lights come on at night, all that stuff. But yeah. Now the thing I am going to have is a problem. Is this stretch from this tree right here to that one right there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, about 9. So I'm going to have to, if you look, I'm going to have the strings about head height. Not much lower, because the sag is going to take me down to the ground at 9 paces. And yeah, but what a beautiful little spot. Mosquitoes will probably get me at night, but yeah, perfect. Alright, guys, I'm going to set it up. Should I go out in here? Nah. Also, one other thing, someone set this up. This is what I was looking at from the distance. They made me a little table. I can put my backpack up there and keep it off the ground, and it'd be right next to me. Good evening, everyone. I got my camp set up, so I'm ready to roll. Just got to put away a few things, and just a few things. I went down, jumped in the water. I know it's salt water, but it's washing salt water off my body with salt water. It's 6:38 right now, so not bad on time. The sun's set already, and where I'm actually at is I'm a little to the east of Utapao, Rayong, Pattaya International Airport. So the international airport actually comes up to, I guess, the bay, up to the beach more or less, and I'm to the side of it. So I did basically 80 kilometers today, very slow kilometers. I took a lot of breaks and stuff, and I just wasn't pushing myself hard because I really don't need to. And I was taking mostly the coastal route, but yeah, you see all that. I guess not, because I didn't do a whole lot of filming today, just because my rambles are so long. And yeah, so this video's got a lot of rambling and a little background to myself. And I'm kind of just, I'm trying to insert more about me, but it takes up so much space, and I'll eventually get around to telling most of my life story. I'm an open book when it comes to that. I'm not really trying to hide anything. I'm not really worried if what the reaction of people are too. I'm bound to say something that's going to offend someone sometime, or they're just not going to like something about me, but that's fine, you know. That's what switching to a different YouTube channel is all about. We all do it. We all have personal preferences. But yeah, guys, it was good. Pattaya's tomorrow, I guess, and I'm going to stay there because the accommodation's cheap. You know, there's $7 and $8 places, hostels I can stay in, so I'll stay a few days there. It's only 47 kilometers, so I should be there by morning time. If I take off early enough too, I guess I can sleep in just a little bit, but not too much. I don't need to leave hella early either. All right, guys. Yeah, for the ones that don't like me rambling, sorry. You'll get over it. But everybody else, good night. I'll see you tomorrow, and we'll just keep this thing rolling. You know, we'll just see where this adventure takes us next. It's been changing this whole time. I mean, you couldn't have scripted it, but it scripts itself, right? All right, guys. Peace out. You guys have a good night.